Good afternoon, everyone. Leah Dixon here from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. I am live with you this afternoon, not my regular Wednesday morning. Sorry, the kids had appointments. So here I am in the afternoon with some Enjoy the Rhythm cards for you. So I'm going to switch over to my desktop so we can take a closer look at this stamp set and get started. So here we go. We have the Enjoy the Rhythm stamp set, and I love this one. My kids, two of them take drumming, and so I love this one for the fact that it has like the proper drum kit and everything there, but that it has some other instruments and the sentiments, the treble maker. I just love that. So we're going to create some cool stuff, but I've brought in a few other really fun products to use with this Enjoy the Rhythm stamp set. We've got the patchwork pieces. This is a die set. You get 2 dies, and they allow you to cut out these beautiful pieces that you can patchwork together. And so we're using actually both of these on our cards today. And then finally, I couldn't resist, brought in the Merry Melodies 3D embossing folder, because how do you really make an instrument card without some musical notes on there? Yeah, so those are the kind of extra products. And then one last extra product that I brought in is, oh shoot, what is it called? It is called the Soft Shimmer Specialty Paper. And so the color palette, I mean, just is fantastic. We've got our Night of Navy, Pretty Peacock, Berry Burst. I'm going to guess that that's like maybe Fresh Freesia, maybe it's like a really light Moody Mauve, and then our Lost Lagoon. Hi, Gail. Thanks for joining. So the color scheme is amazing. And then this is like super, super fine glitter paper. So I guess they call it shimmer for that reason, because it doesn't have like loose bits that fall off, but there's a bit of a texture to it. So we're using that kind of as an accent on our cards today. All right, move that out of the way. And let's get started with our first card today. So first card today is really bright. Like really bright. Lemon Lime Twist, Orchid Oasis, and then tone it down with a little bit of Night of Navy and some Smoky Slate. So when you get your card kit, you're actually going to have your pieces die cut for you. Hi, Kim. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to close up that Facebook page because every time somebody comments on Facebook, I hear the bing in the background. There we go. So you're going to get 2 pieces pre-cut with that awesome patchwork piece in there. And it's cool because that little dot in the center actually holds all the pieces together, and you actually have to separate them from the dot if you want them to fall apart. So you're going to get 2 beautiful layers, one all shimmery and one in the Orchid Oasis. Mine are already pre-cut, but I wanted to show you guys how easy this really is to work. Now, I say it's easy, but I've only done this on my big machine, so we'll see how easy it is on the mini. These dies do fit in the mini, which makes them really awesome in that regard. So here we go. I just put that on top of a piece of Orchid Oasis, and now there we go, and pops out the other side. So it's a little bit tougher to die cut on the mini just because you can't really shift it sideways and start with a point. So anytime I'm working on the big machine, I would always put a die like this in with a point leading so that you don't hit the speed bump. But on the mini, we don't have the luxury of space to do that. And yeah, here we go. It's still die cut. And you can see how the pieces are kind of attached by that central point. So they're not falling apart easily, but they'll come apart easily enough to do what we need to do for today's card. All right. And you'll notice there's an extremely thin border left over. On my dies, I actually wrote down the dimensions that are needed to be able to create just that very thin border. So it was 3¼ by 4¾ will allow you to die cut it with that tiny, tiny border. All right, which we don't need. So I'm going to move these out of the way and we will get started working on our card. So what you want to do is take your, no, sorry, you don't want your card base. You've got a piece of Night of Navy in your kit. You want to take that. And then you want to take whichever one, but probably your sparkly one. You want to take your sparkly piece and lay it down on top of that Night of Navy. And now your sparkly piece is actually going to have these guys all kind of stuck inside them. Okay, so what we're going to do is whatever adhesive you'd like. I think actually I'm going to use Seal today. We're going to come on in here and put some Seal on the back of this. You could use liquid glue, you could use tear and tape, you could even use mini glue dots, whatever adhesive you would like. And with that frame, there we go. Actually, I'm going to pop mine out of my frame just because I don't have all the other pieces. If you had all the pieces, then I would say use the frame and lay this inside and then glue that first piece down. And then you can get rid of the frame. So with that first piece in, you're literally just going to kind of go back and forth between glitter pieces and not glitter pieces and glue them in. Now, the cool thing is you can do both of your cards at the same time because you're going to use half the pieces on one card and the other half the pieces on your other card. And once that first corner is in, the rest of this just goes together so easily because you're just taking, oh no, I've got to do a little bit of puzzle work because, there we go, mine are already all like separated because I've already made the sample. So I just have the extras. So we're just literally coming in here and piece after piece placing these where they belong. All right, come on, there we go. And don't worry too much about the insides because we're covering it all up with that big circle. So any loose points or whatever, it won't matter. Okay. So now this one, I just want to make sure that that top corner lines up nicely because that corner is going to lead to what happens for the rest of this. Okay. Now I think that one goes there. Yep. Yeah, Kim, these were on my list for quite some time. They just arrived the day I actually sat down to design this card class. And so I thought, okay, here we go. All right. So let's keep going. This can take a little while. Now, if you wanted to, when you die cut these, you could die cut them with adhesive backing on them. And then this part would be much faster. You'd just be able to pull a backing off and adhere. So that would be kind of nice. But I wasn't familiar enough with how these things worked and just getting to play with them when I designed these cards. So I don't have that done. They go down quite easily like this anyways. All right. Next. Here we go. So it is a little bit slow, like making a patchwork quilt. All of our patchwork pieces. And I'll take away that little dot on the center. There we go. Now I've got that glittery piece to go. There we are. And that's our bottom corner piece. Yep, there it is. And pop that in. All right, our last glitter piece. So, hopefully you like puzzles, because it is a little bit like putting a puzzle together. You've got to make sure you've got the right pieces. You may want to lay it all out before you start gluing, and then you'll be sure you've got the right pieces for each spot. All right. And this last one goes in. Luckily, with the Night of Navy border, it's a little forgiving. There we go. All right. And then these, I'll just save for another project. Awesome. Oh, Kim, I'm so glad you're enjoying the stamp camp. Yeah, it was a little bit of a different way to do one. We've never done one kind of in the workday evenings, but it's all working out really well. I'm enjoying it. Okay, so now we've got this shock of lemon lime twist, and we're actually going to glue these right to our card front on either side. So just start by gluing one of them, kind of eyeball it. And actually, I think I'm going to, for this one, use Seal Plus again, so that I can place it and really have it stick. All right. So up against the edge, kind of eyeballing it for top to bottom. Actually, you know what? Let's not eyeball it for top to bottom. Let's put this down. And there we go. To actually measure it. And the benefit of actually measuring it is now I can kind of take a look at my paper. There's my 5-inch, so that's that one, and that's that one. So now I can actually line it up on the other side. So when I glue down the other side, I get it at the same height. This is where grid paper comes in handy. Okay, there we go. So those two pieces are on there. They're just a little bit of an accent that's going to poke out when we pop this down onto our card front. So I'm just going to grab my liquid glue now instead of my seal. And I'm going to put some liquid glue on the back of this and attach it right to my card front. There we go. All right. So the sides are different than the top and bottom because of the way the rectangle is for this die. There we go. But as long as you have the two sides equal and then the top and the bottom equal, it's going to look great. Okay, so with that done, we get to actually start stamping with our cool Enjoy the Rhythm stamp set. And in your kit, you will find a circle and a banner, and these are both from the Stylish Shapes dies. Kind of my favorite dies. Oh, thanks, Gail. All right. So I'm going to grab my Memento black ink and my big old drum kit here. I'm going to ink that up in Memento black. And just look at the tops and bottoms of your drum kit to make sure that like the cymbals and the base of the drum end up on your circle. There we go. So those are just touching the bottom corners, but otherwise everything's in there, no problem. And then for our sentiment, we're going to use Orchid Oasis because that coordinates with the blue that we had in here. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment, You Rock My World. All right. Now I'm going to stamp this kind of far over on the right hand side. There we go. And put that off to the side. There we go. Oh, Greta, yeah, it is a really cool die. And wait till you see the curvy one on one of the other cards. It is so fantastic. All right, so now our drum kit, you can color yours however you'd like. I am using Smoky Slate and Lemon Lime Twist because I use the Lemon Lime Twist in the background. Now, here's a little secret, guys. You get this card kit and you're like, oh my gosh, Lemon Lime Twist, I can't do it. Just don't swap out these and then color your drum kit a different color. Use a nice red. I thought about Berry Burst or Calypso Coral. I don't know. I just wanted something shocking and contrasting to the Orchid Oasis. So that's what we did. All right. So I did start with my light Lemon Lime Twist and colored my drums with that, avoiding all the parts that I knew would be metallic. But I did color the base of the drums. You know, you'd think I'd know this after sitting every Wednesday afternoon at drum lessons for like over a year. I think these drums are hollow on the bottom, so you do see the color right through. But now that I started working with this today, when I go, I'm going to actually take a closer look at the drum kit. All right. I thought these would be a fun gift to give to the boys' drum teacher. And yeah. So next up, I'm taking the dark Lemon Lime Twist and I'm going in and in a like vertical motion to kind of mimic where they've already added some shading. I'm adding in some more darkness to this. And just a little bit beyond where they've shaded as well. All right. So just like that. And then most of the rest of this is gray. You could do like some kind of look to make it kind of goldish as well, but I really liked the gray. So we're doing light Smoky Slate for anything kind of big, like the cymbals, the crash, the front of the drum. This one I know is not hollow. It has plexiglass on my son's kit, so you can still see into it, but there we go. And then for everything else, we're coming back in with the dark Smoky Slate and doing all that metal work, all those support bars, all that stuff. Okay, so it's a little bit, it's not the quickest color. And definitely you want to be using the thin end so that you can really try to stay inside the lines. I'm not doing the best job, but good enough. There we go. And around that drum. Around down there. Just like that. Just like that. All right, just about done. So for those of you who are in BC, can you believe the heat today? And then I don't know about you or if it's just my neighborhood, but the smoky smell out there is just unreal. I had to drive out to Langley today and it was so hazy and so smoky. All right. And that's the last one. There we go. So our whole drum kit, all the drum lingo. Well, you know, you pick up on a few things. There we go. So now these just get attached with dimensionals. Kind of easy peasy. I'm going to do my sentiment first. The reason for that is because I don't want it to go off my card front. Kind of important to me. So what I did when I lined this up is I took the top of the banner at the bottom of, like, kind of at the center of everything, and then I popped that down so that we can still see, like, the full border, all the pieces. Those two lines of stitching go across each other. And then when I put my dimensionals on, I'll put them on so that they avoid where that banner already is. Okay, so just 3 on there, and pop that on. So it's off to the side, but I did kind of make sure the top and the bottom are equidistant, and we're not covering our words. Oh, Smokey and Abbotsford too, eh? Oh, sorry. Okay, and then the embellishments we're using on all of our cards today are these awesome neutrals adhesive back sequins. And so I'm using the kind of whitish silvery ones on here. Now, if you did switch it up and use, let's say, Calypso Coral as your coloring, I might switch it up and use the bronze ones on here instead. Now, I am making sure to put mine on not the glimmer paper. So it does change where you position these, because you know, on my other one I put it up here, but that was the that's glimmer now on this one. So I'm just making sure that they're going onto the Orchid Oasis. I think they'll stick better and they pop nicely and give a little shimmer to an area that isn't shimmery otherwise. All right, and that is our first card done. So really fun colors. And like I said, you can swap up those outside colors and your drum kit color and just have a good time with that. All right. Let's see, we'll put those to the side and bring in our second card. So our second card is my favorite because it's got the Happy Birthday Troublemaker on there. We don't use the fancy dies on this one. Just a bunch of quick gluing, really. And that lemon lime twist again. For those of you who think it's too bright, I'm sorry. Again, you can swap that out with any other color. And again, Calypso Coral, I think, would look really great on this one. So first things first, you've got a piece here that's embossed with the Merry Melodies 3D embossing folder. And you're going to glue it onto your basic gray background. But you're leaving a border only on the top, bottom, and right-hand side. You're lining it up flush to the left-hand side. No border on the left. I know, the troublemaker. This one definitely matches my kid's drum teacher. He is definitely a troublemaker. All right. So there. So with that all lined up all the way to the left-hand side, that piece is ready to go onto our card front, but we're going to do some stamping on our card front first. So we're going to grab that guitar. Oh my, I didn't pull it out. That's bizarre. Oh, I did pull it out. Uh-oh. Where would I have put a guitar? Oh, right beside me. There we go. All right. So for this one, it's actually Pool Party ink that I'm using to stamp. You could do Coastal Cabana, which is the cardstock that we're using. But then you'd have to stamp it off, and I found the image just didn't look as nice once it was stamped off. So we're just using full strength Pool Party here. And we're kind of stamping guitars all around the outside edges here. Now, it's really just the outside edges because that's all that's going to end up showing when we glue that big piece down. So it's just kind of having fun there. And one more. And just in case, I don't think actually that's going to show, so let's do it like that. There we go. All right, so we've put those all around. It's not really important that they go along this edge because we're gluing stuff there. And now if you wanted to, I forgot to decorate my other envelope. If you wanted to, you could come on in here and have a little bit of fun. Put a guitar right there on your envelope, or even do like the back flap or something. All right. It is nice to have the musical instruments, isn't it? We haven't had them in quite some time. All right, so with that done, we've got the white piece that we can glue to the inside of our card. And I always just use liquid glue. So white piece to the inside, and then that embossed piece is going to get glued to the left-hand side, so to the fold of our card front. And again, I'm just going to use liquid glue for this. Here we go. And just line them up top to bottom. There. So that is all glued down and ready to go. Now we get to do a little bit more stamping. You've got a small piece of basic white cardstock. We're going to stamp our guitar on there in black. And so just kind of center it top to bottom, left to right. Voila. And we get to color it with same ones as before, lemon lime twist and smoky slate. Totally went blank there. So here we go. I am going to do my dark lemon lime twist for the top and bottom, kind of like the outside edges of our guitar. And I am using, again, the thin tip because it's quite a small space. Okay, and then I'm going to use my thin tip to color in the rest. There we go. And then my light smoky slate, again, thin tip, to color in the strings on our guitar. There we go. So that's our guitar all colored in. And for this one, we're using a piece of Pretty Peacock shimmer paper. And so this just gets glued straight on there. I don't love using liquid glue on shimmer paper, although this one's pretty fine. It would probably work. I am going to go ahead again and use my Seal Plus. Just means you actually have to line this up straight when you do it. There we go. Now, before we attach this, we're going to get our sentiment created. So I am going to use my embossing buddy. This is part of the Embossing Additions toolkit. I'm going to use that just to take any oils off of there. I'm going to grab my Happy Birthday and my Troublemaker and my Versamark ink. So first things first, I'm going to stamp my Happy Birthday up as high as I can. Sorry, I'm not. I'm doing my Troublemaker first. That's right. Troublemaker to the right and down low. Oh, there we go. And then my Happy Birthday above that and centered over my Troublemaker. There we go. So those two are stamped in Versamark, which means you can't really see them on the screen right now. So it's a clear ink. So let's grab our white embossing powder, and I've got it here in my Powder Pals tray that's part of our additions toolkit. And I'm just going to swoop that through my white embossing powder and give it a little tap. Beautiful. Okay, and then so that I don't burn my fingers, I'm just going to hold this with my reverse tweezers while I grab my heat tool, and we're going to give this a little heat to melt our embossing powder. Okay, there we go. Now, this is a little bit of a trick in that I didn't want to kind of mess around, get an extra piece of paper, do all of that, but I did want this banner to go all the way to the other side. So now that I can see where my troublemaker goes to, I'm just going to pop this in and use my paper trimmer to cut that off. So now I've got two pieces. Now I'm keeping them both, but we're going to attach them a little bit differently. So I want this piece to go onto my card there, and this piece I'm going to turn around so that that banner part is hidden, and we're going to glue those down just like that, both of them separately, and then it's going to get covered up by our guitar, and you won't even know that we did the little switcheroo. So a little bit of liquid glue on the back there. Line that up against the far edge. Okay, and now we can use the lines on our music, on our embossing, to line up this second piece. And so again, just some liquid glue on here. Okay, and this one, we're more concerned with how far over do we want it to go. I don't want it going off the card, but I want it over pretty far. And we're going to glue that down. All right. And then finally, this piece is going to go on there with dimensionals. So we'll grab our dimensionals, pop them into all the corners and the center for good measure. And peel all those off. There we go. And this goes on. We want to keep our words visible. We want to keep the white at the bottom visible. And we want to hide that little cut that we did. There we go. So that is all put together. And now we get to embellish it. Now on my original card, I did use kind of the whitish ones. But since then I was thinking about it, and I actually think the gold might look really great on here. So this time around, I'm going to go with gold. Oops, I want those a little bit more off like that. And a little bit wild like that. And another one up here. There we go. So just kind of fun, and I do really like that with the gold. All right, so that is our second card all done. Our troublemaker card. Gotta love it. And our final card today is the Berry Burst and the really fun swivelly one. So here we go, all the bits that are in our card kit. And put that off to the side. So we're actually going to start by doing some more die cutting. So you're going to get, your piece will be die cut well, embossed and die cut. So you're going to have to be a little bit of a detective, because unfortunately this one, when we die cut it, it does not stick together the way the other one does. It also has less pieces, so I think you'll be fine, but we'll show you. So taking that embossed piece, I'm going to pop it through here and die cut it. Okay. Really can't put it on an angle. That's too bad. Okay. Here we go. Oh, this one's definitely trickier. I might end up going over to my big machine to do this one, just because it's really giving me a time here. Yeah, it does not want to roll through. Let's see. Maybe I can adjust a little bit. And there we go. No, it does not want to go through. Okay, I'm going to take this over to my big machine where I can actually turn it on an angle. It's interesting that I didn't really have any problems with the last one. This one's giving me so much grief. So I'll be right back. So here we go on my big plate. I rolled that through, and I'll just show you. You'll see why it won't come out in a nice singular piece. There's no kind of dot to hold it all together. So when we start to pull it out, all the pieces just come separately. So you'll have to use, they're very distinct in shape. So you'll just have to use the image to kind of figure out which one goes where. I am going to show you a trick though for gluing these down, because it took me a few tries to be able to glue them down and have them have a nice border. And then I figured it out. So taking our piece of early espresso, you want to actually start with not the tiniest piece, but the second smallest piece. And these two create your corners. So this one creates like your actual corner, and then this one has to go on so that it is also lined up to your corner. This is really hard for me to show you on the screen, but so that's how it's got to go. If you can get that one straight, then the rest of it's going to go together nicely. And then this piece tucks in afterwards into this space. So if you want to give it a little bit more of a border in between, you can just kind of do that. And so those two pieces are going to help you line up so that everything else will go on here nice and straight. Now, I did use liquid glue for this so that I could give it a little wiggle. So, because this one's a bit tricky to put down and have it be perfectly straight. Okay, so I think that's a good corner. That's a good corner. There. All right. Yeah, this one definitely, the other one goes together very, very easily. This one I found a little bit more challenging. I think because I also wanted to have a little bit of space between the pieces and give it that little like look that it really is separate pieces. That made it a bit more challenging. Okay. And then I did just for my own sanity, I placed these to make sure I was doing it properly before I glued down the rest of them. There we go. So those are the right pieces. And then that one can go in like that. And it's nice because you can use the edge as your guide, as like, am I placing this correctly? And see just how much space you need for each of these. Okay, so then liquid glue again, so you can wiggle and move them around because these ones are a bit trickier. All right. And I did really want to make sure that this edge stayed equal. There we go. All right. So again, just like on the first one, this takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. Now this one also, we want to make sure it's going on straight, and how it actually looks down over here isn't going to be super important because that's going to get covered with our circle and sentiment. So we're worrying more about this right edge than we are about this left side. The left side does come together though on its own, if you worry about the right side and get it all lined up there. Okay, there we go. And that one we want to worry about the top. How does it look across the top? And then finally this one, fingers crossed it fits. It should. It really, really should. Okay. And there we go. It does. Now, if you don't like that your border on this side and this side are different, this is the joy of this one as well, is you can now go in and trim those and get them how you want them. So I might actually grab my paper trimmer and just give this a little shave. Okay. And same with that. There we go. And finally the bottom. There. Okay. All right. So that's all trimmed up. Looks like I might need a new blade. I've got a little bit of fuzzies off the sides. So now that piece gets glued to our piece of Berry Burst. Okay. I'm just going to trim up those a little bit. I don't like how that got a little frayed. My blade is definitely getting dull. There we go. One more trim. Okay. So this gets glued down with liquid glue. And then the whole thing gets glued to our card front, but we don't glue it centered. We glue it kind of off to the right-hand side. Okay, we got that. Grab our card base. And this is going to get glued quite over to the right-hand side. We're leaving a bit of a border, but not too much. So it's fun how you can use these dies and alternate the colors, or you can use the dies all in one pattern. So to alternate the colors on this one, you would just, again, cut it out twice. Once in one color, once in the other. And then you could even fit it together without all the big spaces like I used. And then it fits together even more nicely like the first one did. All right, mine's just a little bit tricky because I tried to use that spacing. Now, I do have a little bit of glue there. Let's use a glue eraser and get rid of that. If you don't have a glue eraser, just our standard white eraser works really well. All right, now our piece here that we're going to stamp, we need our basic black. And let's see, our keyboard. And when I stamp this keyboard and kind of aiming for about halfway down my card. There we go. And then my, where did it go? Enjoy the rhythm of each day sentiment. I'm going to ink that up with black. And I tried to do it so that it was kind of straight with the top of our keyboard. And I'm looking at my E and my M to make sure that they stay inside the circle. Right, now I got a little bit of ink where I don't want it. That's unfortunate, but we're just going to have to roll with it. I might actually grab a pen and add some more stuff in there. Maybe I'll just put some gems there. We'll see. So this piece gets glued down. I did try coloring the keys on the piano. And it might work, I think, in some situations, but on this particular card, it just made the keys really heavy and drew your eye to them more than I wanted. So we're going to keep the keys all white and not bother with anything on that today. All right, and now this piece is going to go on here with dimensionals. So let's grab some dimensionals, pop those on the back. And I did try to make my sentiment straight. There we go. Keeping your circle on your card. And then the last thing to do is to embellish. And I actually used kind of these darker brown, I'm not sure. Maybe it's bronze. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Use these bronze ones to decorate our card front. All right. And that is the third card for this week's Card Class to Go. So if you're not familiar with my Card Class to Go, a $60 purchase using my host code of the week gets you enough stuff to make 2 of each of these 3 designs. And a $70 purchase gets you the embellishments as well. So that is it. Really fun. Enjoy the rhythm cards. And yeah, that is all that I've got for you this week. So next week, I will be back to my regular 9 a.m. time. Kind of works better for my life, but today we had appointments, so you roll with it. So I'll be back with that regular schedule starting next week. Report cards will hopefully be done, and I'll just be able to relax and enjoy stamping. So I hope you guys have a great day. If you're somewhere smoky, stay inside and stamp. Perfect excuse. And we'll see you guys all next week. Bye.